My name is Aidan Sears and this is my presentation for LB618 Cultures of Production. The media professional I interviewed for this presentation was a freelance filmmaker named Tim Cronin. On top of the freelance film work, he also creates music, including soundtracks for films. One of the notable films he has created music for would be the film It's a Lot, which was at the Cannes Film Festival and later the cinema. In the telephone interview I arranged with him, he gave me a good insight into the cultures that exist within the freelance industry, and also the difficulties he has faced personally. His freelance work has led him to become involved with many different community and educational projects. He uses his creative knowledge to engage difficult-to-reach groups. He currently has a contract at a prison in Kent where he runs a film group for offenders. He describes the type of media work he does as a niche market. In order to get a foot in the door in the industry, many people work for free in hopes that it will end up with paid employment. It can also give a much-needed competitive edge in the freelance sector. This is because it can help boost a person's reputation and add to their bank of skills and knowledge, which will look impressive on the CV. According to Holgate and McKay, 47% of workers say they have taken some sort of unpaid work in the creative industry. Working without pay is not possible for some, however. This means that only those who are better off financially can take on the longer periods of unpaid labour, which can end up with paid employment. This means for the freelancers with less economic capital, but are still looking to gain work experience, they have to take paid work, such as a job in a bar. Due to the contractual requirements of most of these jobs, they may end up missing out on opportunities which can further their career. Menger noticed that in comparison to the general workforce, creative types are on average younger, better educated and more concentrated in a few metropolitan areas. They have higher rates of self-employment, but also have higher rates of unemployment. They earn less money than other types of workers, such as professionals, whose members have comparable human capital characteristics. These human characteristics would include economic, social and cultural capital. Tim has been fortunate enough to survive mainly on freelance work without having to take much additional work. On the rare occasion where he has been out of work, he has supported himself through gigging. He only once took up a driving job.
Has there been like a point where like you're working basically from job to job, sort of,
Yes.
and have there been many difficulties with that? And have you like taken, let's say, I don't know, something like a shop job or something like that to support yourself in between contracts?
No, that hasn't really happened. What I have done is, well, actually, no. A few years ago, I did driving for foster companies. So yes, I've done very, but actually, I've managed to survive really on freelance work. But it gets really tight, and you do run out of money.
Yeah.
You know, and yes, then you have to consider all kinds of things. But also, I'm a musician, so I've gigged in bands. You don't earn a lot of money from that, but you know, it's
Yeah.
so. In short, yes, Aidan, but not recently.
Okay. And have you done much unpaid?
The people who are able to afford to take unpaid labour are those with a higher amount of economic capital. The people with a higher amount of economic capital tend to be of a higher class. A big part of freelancing is building a network of contacts which you are able to contact for work. This is called social capital. Social capital is a term coined by Pierre Bourdieu. He describes social capital as being made up of connections that can be converted in certain conditions into economic capital. Because the higher classes can afford to get their foot in the door and take up more opportunities, they can increase their social capital. For example, gain connections at a production company and then get offered paid work through one of them, which increases their economic capital, but also allows them to continue gaining social capital. It is a never-ending cycle of economic capital being turned into social capital, which is how people progress in their careers. This essentially creates a class divide, which Tim has noticed himself. Here is an extract from his interview.
Have you found that like the people who are working for free, they tend to have a lot of financial sort of backing behind them anyway?
Yes.
So they're in like the higher and like top classes.
Yes.
Have you found that like
Yes.
yeah?
There's no meritocracy at the moment. We're the most unmeritocracy. You know, I mean, I would describe myself as probably lower middle class, if not working class, in roots. But yes, you meet basically rich kids all the time, and you've only got to look at the charts, and you've got to see the bands that are coming out, because you have to be able to, and the acting profession, for instance, we're now moving into an era where the middle classes, the upper middle class, basically have got it because they can afford it, and they've also got the network. You know, which is one of the reasons I did the High Sheriff of Kent thing, was because I needed to get a network, and I couldn't get into that network if I just started calling on people.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me in. But if I can attach myself to a project like that, then that gets me in. And that's beginning to bear a little bit of fruit at the moment. So I'm talking to some organisations about filmmaking, and that may lead to work.
Another thing to point out is the higher classes are also in a better position to gain cultural capital. Cultural capital can exist in 3 different categories. Institutionalised. This type of cultural capital includes education. So in my personal case, my institutionalised cultural capital includes an FDA in broadcast media. This type of capital also includes specialised knowledge. The higher classes would be in a better position to gain specialist knowledge, as they may learn how to operate specialist equipment through workshops they may have to pay for, or they may learn it through work experience. Embodied. This type of capital includes speech, personality and skills. Objectified. Objectified cultural capital are things that belong to you. In the freelance world, that could refer to the specialist equipment you own. According to Monica Gregg on study.com, cultural capital is supposed to allow you to progress in society without the need of wealth. However, I partly disagree with this. Higher classes can essentially use their economic capital to buy specialist camera equipment and then get hired to do something such as a wedding video and gain experience and further employment that way. Although it is possible for anyone, regardless of what class you are, to have embodied cultural capital, which may assist greatly in moving up the career ladder.